what'll happen. That's possible.
He's taking a bit of a risk, because some runners have in the past saved soft-locked on wall skip.
Gee, I wonder who that is. Anyway, we are off. LADX, no squoob, aka no wrong warp, out of bounds, no save and quit. The rules are simple, no save and quitting is allowed. This also means no death warping is allowed. In the event of an accidental death or save and quit, where you progress because of it, you have to return to the room where you died and or save and quit from, and then proceed as normal. No wrong warp. You cannot do things like the doghouse glitch, where you use an entrance to warp to an unintended location from that entrance. And no out of bounds, which is defined as being greater than one tile away from a tile in which you can normally be on or access, which comes into play later on in the run in D8.
So, I think first of all, we should mention wall clipping, which you're going to see the runners do everywhere in the run. And, TGH's movement so far is why he's already about half a second ahead. Half a second ahead. And so, there's a technique that we use in this game, which is wall clipping. If you go into a wall, sort of on the corner, you can actually clip a few pixels into the wall. Now, obviously, this saves time with movement, but this also allows us to do a vast majority of the glitches in this game.
Whoa, there are glitches in this game?
Oh, yes. So, they both got quick sword. I love how that's called quicker or quick sword now.
So, currently making our way through the forest onto the first major skip of the run, called Moblin Skip. Do you want to give that an explanation?
So what they're going to be doing is, usually in this part of the run, you would usually have to get the mushroom, talk to the witch, or get powder from Trendy Game. We're not going to do that. We're going to go across a pit to skip talking to the raccoon, and we're going to use a damage boost from a moblin to do so. Now, this is RNG because we do need the moblin to be facing upwards when we do this. Now, TGH picking up the mushroom, we'll talk about that in a bit. So they need the moblin to be facing upwards whilst they do this. Now, Spice actually getting it very, very quickly. TGH getting some really bad RNG.
Indeed, nothing he can really do about it up until right then and there.
So Spice also getting owl skip. He's able to skip the entire text box. Saves about 3 or 4 seconds. Not really that much, to be honest. So TJ's also getting owl skip. Now you're going to see a route difference immediately here because TGH has picked up the mushroom. Now, why might he do that? So there is a super jump, which we're going to talk about in Dungeon 1. There's one of these in Dungeon 1 which is made much easier to do with the mushroom. So, Spice is getting the powder from Trendy Game. Now, TGH will get the powder, but it will get at a later stage. So he's going straight to stealing from the shop.
We're thieves, woohoo! So, we steal from the shop because it's going to take us a while to farm the rupees needed. We need the shovel to get into Dungeon 3. We also need some bombs, because that's going to help us. And then you see that really expensive bow and arrow on the left side. That, at this stage of the game, is very overpowered, and it'll help us take down some of the bosses.
We don't have time to grind 980 rupees.
No. So right now it looks like TGH is ahead, however later on he is going to have to turn in that mushroom for powder. So he's not as ahead as it looks, and actually with the way Moblin Skip went, not sure he's much ahead at all, if any.
Now TGH's doing, is that pit hover? What do we call that?
Pit walk.
Pit walk, yeah.
Although I hadn't seen it done with the mushroom before.
Yeah. So Mushroom makes it 100% consistent to do that. Now, there is a risk with using the Mushroom, however small it might be, that you can soft lock when you're using the Mushroom to go across pits. So, yeah, we're gonna. Do you want to explain super jumps before we get to one?
Sure. So in a moment, we're going to be picking up the dungeon item, the Rock's Feather, and using that in combination with clipping in the walls allows us to do some unexpected things. Specifically, if we clip ourselves into the wall and face the wall and jump, and then face away and use our weapon, whether it be the fire rod, sword, or bow and arrow, it actually tricks the game into thinking you're jumping, I guess, off of a cliff. And it allows you to jump over blocks that you normally couldn't jump over. And you will be seeing that used starting in like 45 seconds.
Yeah, TGH has been using this strat for a couple of weeks now, maybe 1 or 2 weeks. It originally was sort of made popular by a runner named Vlak, who is also running in this tournament. So what he's going to do now, he's actually going to use the Mushroom to clip into that bottom wall, and not super jump apparently. So as a result of this, he's now clipped so he can make the super jump over. Now this saves I don't know how much it saves. I think it saves about like 5 or 6 seconds in total. That's if you get the swordless super jump first time, which you didn't. He's actually
extra arrows there.
Yeah, he's dropping a lot of arrows.
And he also missed a kill. Now, you might wonder why we would care about killing that Stalfos. The Stalfos itself isn't an issue. However, the players need to kill a certain amount of enemies to get a drop known as Piece of Power. And we want it to drop in specific locations. In this case, the first one we see should drop in the first or second enemy of Dungeon 2. Now, Piece of Power is very important. First of all, it drops every 30 enemies, with a couple exceptions we'll get into later. And it gives your sword the knockback. It also increases the damage dealt by, I believe, double. But the best thing it does is it increases our movement speed, which is something we care a lot about. Now, if we got it outside of the dungeon and then entered, we would lose that Piece of Power, so we don't want to do that. We want to make sure it drops as early as it can inside the dungeon. And this is also why you see players such as right here killing these Octoroks that appear out of the way. It's to add to that kill count. Most of the top players have a specific kill route that they're doing. They know what enemies they need to kill, they know if they're ahead or behind, and they know how to make up for it.
So, it'll be interesting to see if TGH is still ahead after getting the powder. Now, we need powder for Dungeon 2, so quite conveniently, the witch is not too far from Dungeon 2. So you're going to see probably the last routing change for now, by TGH going to the witch. He's like stopped to kill an extra enemy there. So he's going to go to the witch, hand in the mushroom, and get the powder. So Spice will be catching up here.
Oh yeah, Spice is definitely ahead.
He's going to overtake him, yeah.
Because that's the screen where the routes converge.
So the problem TGH had is that he didn't get that super jump first try. And if he had got the super jump first try, he might have been neck and neck here. But Spice is having an amazing run, I'm going to be honest. Oh, and he also got trolled on Moblin Skip as well.
Indeed. So coming up to our friend Bow Wow, our chain chomp that we need to rescue. And he's going to allow us to access the Dungeon 2. He's also going to be useful or a hindrance, depending on how many enemies he decides to eat. So any enemies that he eats increment your piece of power count. Now, that sounds all good. However, if he eats an extra enemy outside of Dungeon 2, as happened in the earlier race to Xander, then your piece of power drops outside Dungeon 2. And as I mentioned, if you get it there and then enter Dungeon 2, you lose the effects. which makes it completely useless. Unfortunately, Bow Wow deciding to troll and not allow space entrance, and TGH overtakes him.
Well, wow. TGH getting it instant.
RNG.
This is back and forth. I hope it's like this through the entire race. So TGH getting to the exact enemy the perfect placement of Piece of Power. Now, the other thing with Piece of Power routing is you don't want to get it in the wrong place. Not just because you want to use as much for the dungeon as possible, but because the effect it has on later pieces of power. Dungeon 5 is the second to last piece of power that TGH routes, and that's the most important one. That's going to save him the most amount of time. But if he's off by even 1 or 2 enemies, that could cost him piece of power in Dungeon 5.
Dungeon 5 is a dungeon that, out of all of them, we want piece of power in early the most because of how much walking around we have to do. TGH doing ghost skip there. Couldn't tell you why the ghost decided to run the other way, but they decided to do it anyway. As long as you jump in and flash the sword.
Check what appear off screen if you slash your sword.
Well, you're cutting out a bit. So this room to get the dungeon key, or not the dungeon key, the
one. Yep. And you.
Okay, I'm gonna move prone so he catches up. So to get that big key, you have to kill the enemies in a certain order. If you do not, the chest does not spawn, and you have to redo. So now I'm the Dungeon 2 boss, the Djinn, and we're going to break this guy. Casually, you're supposed to hit him 3 times, or throw his bottle 3 times, then it breaks, and then kill the boss. We're actually going to clip ourselves into the wall, throw the bottle to instantly break it, and then kill him. Welcome back.
Some
quick kill.
Issues there.
I saw. And Space also getting a kill as well, so both these players very close together. Alright, and now on to another major skip, although we have a bit to get there. That is called Villa Skip, and we're going to do that to get the Dungeon 3 key. Normally at this point in the game, we're going to return Bow Wow, then head to Candlelight Castle, do a long side quest there, collect some stuff for Richard, get the key. We're not going to do any of that. First of all, we're going to keep Bow Wow with us the rest of the game, because it takes time to return him, and he can be quite useful if used properly. So we're going to take him to the back entrance of the villa. Now, casually, you might not have known there's a back entrance. It's because the developers didn't intend to be there. So what we're going to do, we're going to slash a bush, reveal this hole, and we're going to jump into it. And on the frame where you hear Link falling in, we're going to pause right there, and then when exiting that pause menu, if you buffer down, the game actually pushes you a pixel down, which allows you to transition, despite you not being supposed to do that. And that skips about 7 minutes of side quest. Both players seem to get it pretty quickly. If you start pause buffering at the wrong time, you're going to be there for a while.
Should have maybe explained that. This is exactly the same trick that TGH used in Dungeon 1 with the mushroom. Except the mushroom automatically gets you clipped, but it's the same principle.
Also, fun fact, you can enter a key from the back side as long as you're clipped into the wall and facing up.
This game is coded so well.
Very. So Dungeon 3, again, we'll be looking for a piece of power in here, although it'll be later in the dungeon. And one thing we didn't talk about, there's also another item that can drop, the Guardian Acorn. It drops... I've seen so many different numbers thrown around. What did you say, 12? 14?
12.
So for every 12 kills where you do not take damage, a Guardian Acorn will drop. And now, the thing with that is, it's good and all, but we don't want it. The main reason being, if you're under effects of that Guardian Acorn, if Piece of Power is scheduled to drop, it will not drop, and you will lose out on it. But the counter will reset back to 0. So it's not going to drop on the next kill where after you lose it. So we don't want to avoid those acorns.
TGH getting Piece of Power exactly where he wants it, and doing a very risky super jump, which you'll see both runners do twice during this run, which is Dodongo skip. Now, you can actually soft lock as a result of this. If you're too slow with it, you'll get stuck in the block and won't be able to get out. If that were to happen, they would have to save and quit and return there. Now, normally in this category, you aren't allowed to save and quit, but for the benefit of the races in the tournament, we have made save and quit legal if you soft lock, but they do have to return to the screen where they soft locked.
Yeah, players have to do that skip twice during the run. And now heading to the boss Vitreous. Pretty easy boss, although if you're not careful, he can easily kill you. But this boss is much easier with Piece of Power, as it only takes 2 hits on each eye to kill. Whereas casually, without Piece of Power, I believe it takes 4. And that was Vitreous. Not much to it.
Doesn't look like he's going to go for Owl Skip.
I was just thinking that as well. Although he does have to do another menu, so it's possible.
That is true, actually. So...
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, there is. Is he going to get...
Nope.
No, he didn't even place the bomb.
he tried, just didn't work.
Okay, so what TGH tried there, we'll see one of these happen in about 30 seconds or so on a much grander scale. What he tried to do there is a bomb trigger. So in this game, if you place 2 bombs on alternate frames, the best way to describe the effects is that things happen on the screen. A number of things can happen. So what he could have done there is if he managed to get that, he would have skipped the owl coming in. Now, the way you do this, you can't normally put 2 bombs on the screen at the same time, so you have to use a transition to do it. Now, he's going to try another one here, and this is going to be Walrus Skip. This has got quite a lot of softlock potential, which is why most runners will have a backup save. But we don't see too many softlocks here, if I'm going to be honest.
You're probably the last one that should be saying that. So TGH getting it easy. Now, there are 2 softlock potentials on that. If you leave the screen too soon, the Walrus will still be there, and your controls will be locked, as they are for TGH right now, which is why you're going to see him enter a cave and exit. If you leave the screen too late, you actually get stuck in place. There's a rabbit that appears on the screen, and at that point, you cannot move or do anything.
So TJ's doing an arrow trigger here.
It's our favorite mini-boss, Landmula. That was Landmula. We hope you enjoyed. We will be quizzing you on its looks later on.
Yeah, it appears again later on, and it's on the screen for as less amount of time as then. I like to laugh. It's an arrow trigger. You fire 2 arrows within 5 seconds, and you get a free key. It is actually a mini boss there. Its hitbox is there before you can see it, so we just fire 2 arrows and be done with it.
Totally won't be seeing something like that later on.
I mean, it will be gone as quick as that one as well.
So now to head our way to Dungeon 4. Now we got the Dungeon 4 key, then we have to go across the map to the Dungeon 4 key hole, and then we have to go across the map to get to the Dungeon 4 entrance. Everything is super far from each other in this part. Yeah, the bow is definitely not overpowered.
Nope, it's perfectly balanced.
So you do want to make sure at this point that you actually remember to head to the D4 keyhole instead of heading straight to D4. Because you go through this area so many times, your mind might go, oh, here's these stairs that take me to D4, this is where I need to go next. And that's not true. You get there and you realize you're blocked by water, you can't get in. Who is ahead? TGH is by, I don't know, 20 seconds at most, if that.
So, forgetting to open D4 has happened in races and tournaments before. It will happen again in the future at some point. It's sort of a rite of passage when running this game. It happens to everyone at some point. It used to happen a lot more back when we used to Mamba and go through that screen about 4 times.
Oh.
What's our estimate for this race?
I have no idea.
I want to say 56 or 58. I reckon Spice can PB.
TGH getting first try obstacle skip there. We'll be there again later on. That's a skip that saves about half a second, but if you fail it, you lose 2 seconds. It's a meme at this point.
I don't think Bow Wow's been particularly bad either.
We will see. So Dungeon 4 right now, we're going to complete half of it, enough to get the flipper. Not the flippers, the flipper. And then immediately after, we're going to leave and head to Dungeon 5. We want Piece of Power as early in Dungeon 5 as we can get it. Meaning we want Bow Wow to cooperate and not eat everything in sight on our way to Dungeon 4. Because if you get it in Dungeon 4 or on the way to Dungeon 5, you're going to lose a lot of time. As D5 is probably the longest in this run, and involves a lot of running around, a lot of backtracking.
So TG's just skipping half the dungeon there. You're not meant to be able to make that 4-way jump, but the developers didn't seem to realise wall clipping existed.
Indeed.
But we did.
That was our favorite mini-boss cue ball. We hope you enjoyed him. Rest in peace. And now to open this chest and get our reward. And then, because this is a no save and quit category, we have to backtrack to the warp to get to the beginning of the dungeon.
Now, funny thing about Cue Ball is Piece of Power can actually technically drop on him, but the Piece of Power itself won't actually drop. It will just increment the counter and sort of skip it if it were to drop on it.
And if you don't know your count, then you're not going to realize, hey, it might have dropped on Cue Ball until you start killing enemies in D5 and go, wait,
you're gonna
where's
wonder,
my pop?
where's my Piece of Power?
Indeed.
So, I think we're going to see TGH kill a lot of things in Dungeon 5. Because TGH uses I believe he uses D6 Piece of Power routing, which very few runners do.
Oh no, and Spice getting a Piece of Power in Dungeon 4. That is going to cost him. That's unfortunate.
So that's actually a big blow, getting it that early.
Indeed.
Now,
Go ahead.
he could try and overkill in Dungeon 5 and get it mid-dungeon, and it'll still probably save time.
We kill a lot of enemies in Dungeon 5, so that might work out. One thing we didn't talk about, and you've probably noticed at this point, is every time we're entering a dungeon, entering a boss room, or opening a chest, picking up an item, the players are opening, typically their save and quit menu, although other times it might be the map, it might be the regular menu, and this is a skip the text of whatever text is supposed to be on the screen. Even though this is a no save and quit category, it doesn't mean we can't open the menu, as long as we don't actually save and quit. TGH getting his Piece of Power probably right where you wanted it. So those Helmsars, casually, you might have thought you had to hit them from behind. That is not true. The way the game handles it is as long as you're facing the same direction as the Helmsar, when you hit it, even if you're next to it, it counts. This is the Master Stalfos mini-boss fight. We get to fight him 4 times this dungeon. He appears in 4 different rooms, and you have to fight him in a specific order, which is the main reason for all the backtracking we do. First and 4th time we kill him, it takes 3 bombs and or bomb arrows, and the 2nd and 3rd time it's only 2 bombs.
I think the worst thing about this dungeon, even if we manage to find a way to skip these 2 middle Stalfos fights, we'll still have to get the Nightmare Key. So it'll still be a long dungeon.
Indeed.
So yeah,
they get the Nightmare Key. You're supposed to get the hookshot, then go to the room where it's located, use the hookshot and get to it. We're not going to do that. We're going to do a dumb jump to get it instead. But shout out to dumb jumps. There was one in Dungeon 4 we didn't get a chance to mention. It was to jump around a cracked block over some water. It's dumb. Don't try it at home.
I don't know what's worse, the fact that we have a jump called Dumb Jump number 1, or the fact that we have a jump called Dumb Jump number 3.
Indeed. I'm sure we could probably name a couple others dumb jumps.
We could probably have a Dumb Jump number 5 and Dungeon 7. So, TGH
that was
first
dumb
try
jump
getting
2.
Dumb Jump number 2.
That jump is much easier with Piece of Power and the movement boost.
So, we actually use the pit mechanics to allow us to jump 4 gaps, or 4 pits, which we shouldn't be able to do, but we are able to do because of how pits work. Now, normally you'd need the hook shot for that, casually, but we haven't got time to keep backtracking everywhere.
Oh. So, as we said earlier, all this backtracking, now we're going back to one of the earlier rooms we were in, as the 4th and final Master Stalfos fight is right next door. I like how TGH, even with using the extra arrows early on, still has 2 left over.
So Spice getting second try Dumb Jump number 2. So at this point, TGH will start looking for a way to lose Piece of Power. And he's going to hopefully lose it the room before the boss.
No, we didn't talk about losing Piece of Power, I don't think. Do you want to mention that?
Well, okay, so you lose Piece of Power after taking 3 hits of damage whilst you have it, which is actually really, really easy to do by accident in Dungeon 5. So TGH losing it, maybe 2 rooms earlier than he wanted to, but still a good place. Now, the reason why he wants to do that is that this
Shout out to
boss...
Dumb Jump 3, by the way.
Yeah. So, this boss, you need to hit him 4 times per cycle to 2-cycle him. If you've got Piece of Power, the supposed knockback will give him invincibility frames, even though he's not actually being knocked back. So it makes it much, much harder to 2-cycle him. So we get rid of Piece of Power as close to the boss as we can, so we can 2-cycle him. And TGH getting that 2-cycle. Spice also has lost his Piece of Power. I don't know where. I don't know if he lost it earlier.
Did he ever pick one up?
Oh, of course,
there's
no.
Piece of Power right there. Right where you don't want it.
Yeah. So, there's enough enemies in Dungeon 5 that Piece of Power drops twice.
The unfortunate thing about that is, now he picked it up, he had to do the save and quit to skip the text, and now he needs to take 3 hits to lose it. So it ends up not being worth it at this point.
Interesting that TGH decided to take the time to write in chat in the middle of his race.
RNG manipulation. Now we're going to head to Dungeon 6. On the way there, though, we have to make a pit stop to get the key for it, a recurring theme in this game. And that's going to be in the Armos Maze. Now, the thing about the Armos Maze is there's a lot of enemies there, so Bow Wow can really help you out by eating them, especially if he eats the ones in your way. A lot of Zols, which are just a nuisance, and a lot of Armos Knights, small ones. For every Armos Knight every Armos Knight that dies, they are guaranteed to drop an arrow unless they're supposed to drop a Guardian Acorn or a piece of power. So it's a good source of arrow refills if you're low. And you can manipulate which enemies Bow Wow will eat just by where you enter the screen and where you move. Try and move them towards the Armos Knights over where the Zols are.
A lot of these Bow Wow manips are actually incidental as well. Like, they happen without us actually consciously trying to manipulate him. There are a couple manips that you can do consciously in the Armos Maze on the way back, but none of them are consistent.
Spicefather also trying his hand at some RNG manipulation, also typing in chat. So that takes away the advantage TGH has.
I wonder if TGH will do much of that if he ends up against Dragon. And should he win this?
Yeah, he has to win this first now. Someone just posted in chat, there's about a minute and 20 difference between the two players. At this point, that means nothing, because we still have tons of RNG coming up. Plus Rooster Skip. And if you saw the race earlier, that almost... I mean, that could have easily cost Bamboo the victory.
That was responsible for Bamboo's slowest time in this tournament.
I believe he said he lost a minute 50 on that split.
Yeah, he did not win by a comfortable margin.
So, Bow Wow, our good pal, he just ate the cutscene.
Oh my god, he's really hungry. How can he eat a cutscene?
So it turns out the game treats cutscenes as sprites, and just by a little bit of manipulation, Bow Wow can eat it. Not just this one, there's another one coming up for Dungeon 7. And fun fact, typically whenever he eats a cutscene, I see him drop a heart. They can also drop pieces of power.
This race is direct elimination. Whoever loses this is knocked out of the tournament.
Right, so we didn't really talk about why we left Dungeon 4 earlier. If we had completed Dungeon 4 while we were there, initially, we would actually be stuck doing a long side quest when we left. We talk to a ghost, we show him the world, we take him home. It takes time. But fun fact, once you get the level 2 power bracelet in this dungeon, the flag to do that side quest, it's done, it's auto-completed. So you no longer have to do that. So when we leave Dungeon 6, we'll actually be heading back to Dungeon 4, since it's not terribly far from here, and complete it before progressing. Oh, TGH taking a hit there. So what you just saw in that room, if you stand next to that pot and hookshot it, you're actually invincible until you do another action. The game thinks you're still hookshotting, and when you're hookshotting, you can't get hit. So it gives us a bit of downtime.
So during that, TGH actually wrote in chat.
TGH's piece of power just dropped as he transitioned. That hurts.
It doesn't lose too much time not getting it, but yeah, I mean, he's rooted for it to drop in the right place, and it's dropped in the wrong place.
So that super jump. Go ahead and finish.
Yeah, usually that piece of power will drop one enemy later, but Bow Wow must have eaten an extra enemy.
Indeed. So that super jump he had just done has a soft lock potential. However, there is a very good visual cue to avoid it. And now the fun part, horse heads. 25% chance of landing straight up, and you need them both to land up.
25%, you wouldn't believe how many people get like 10 plus tries.
That was at least 8. Now, this means spicefather will probably get a good one, because I swear every race I commentate somebody gets first try.
We'll probably see a first try Gumba surf.
Oh, God.
And one runner will get 0 blue balls and the other will get 13.
Alright. So now coming up on the dungeon boss, Facade, and hey, remember Landmall and how you didn't see him? Fun fact, this boss also has a hitbox while not actually being there. So we get 3 hits in before we're supposed to, and that only leaves us needing to get 2 more hits in with bombs.
We'll see a mini-boss later on, which is the opposite, where he's there but doesn't have a hitbox. Funny how that happens. So, TGH from this, he's probably going to go for an hour skip. So, oh my god, what's he doing?
Oh, he's fun with the bomb.
Yeah, he's gonna be heading to Dungeon 4. Now, did we explain why they didn't complete Dungeon 4?
I did. Rip the dream of first try horse heads.
Did TGH not place a bomb again?
I wasn't looking, I'm watching horse heads, and this is really bad, actually. 14th try horse heads.
Wow.
Oh, that is unfortunate. More RNG, you just can't really do anything about it.
This game has so much RNG in, and it's got to a point where the top 2 times on the leaderboard are so refined that it's really down to like RNG at that. Like, you can have a perfectly executed run, but you need to get lucky with RNG to beat the world record or even second time.
Indeed.
I reckon Vlak will do it soon though.
He's been grinding it. So,
Yeah.
earlier in Dungeon 3, we did a nifty little super jump to clank off the dongos. This time we're going to do something similar. We're going to use this P-hat next to us to redirect us onto that ledge below, just like that.
There's actually a subtle timing to this. If you do it too early, you actually won't go far enough. If you do it too late, well, you won't actually get the clink of the P-hat.
And we just abused the feather to jump a gap that we weren't supposed to jump, and we're right here at Chrome's favorite boss, the anglerfish. 3 hits, he's down.
You forgot to mention that earlier today, in the other race.
Oh, there was no forgetting about it. Sometimes I try and give you a bit of a break. Spice getting the owl skip up there.
That's me.
You did it first. You paved the way.
So we're going to see TGH go to a trick that could make the difference between winning and losing here. And that is a second obstacle skip.
Indeed. That.
I mean, yeah,
Big time save that.
Second obstacle skip is important though. Obstacle skip saves half a second each time you do it, and if you fail, it loses you 3 seconds. Yeah, okay. So rooster skip. Now, at this point, you'd normally need to get the rooster, but if we got the rooster, we'd have to first get the ocarina, or we'd have to go and like grind rupees. We'd have to get frog song, then get the rooster. We don't have time for that. So we're gonna jump over this massive bit ourselves. And the way we do this is that we use the hook shot and the feather. Let's see if it goes for obstacle skip. 2 out of 2.
Indeed.
So a hook shot jump is actually a frame perfect, and we need to do 2 of those in a row. Now you can buffer it I'm wondering if we're going to see TGH buffer or not.
No, I don't
I'm
think
willing
he
to
would.
bet no. He likes taking risks at
No.
Rooster Skip. Now,
One thing we want to mention about this is Bow Wow can really troll us here. If he gets in the way of the hook shot, you won't have time to react, and you're going to instantly fall. Oh, nicely done.
oh, first try. So, the other thing about that trick that makes it like quite bad is that, as you can see, he's falling down a pit, and he's appearing out here. If he'd fallen down the pit during hookshot jumping, he would have ended up there as well. And it's not like a normal pit where maybe you lose like 3 seconds getting back to where you were. You lose the best part of half a minute if you fall down that hole.
We saw earlier today with Bamboo Shadow where he fell in there 3 times. It cost him almost 2 minutes alone on that split. It is no joke.
Now, do remember the RNG he's had this run hasn't actually been perfect because he had really bad mob and skip.
Indeed. So, we mentioned earlier about the cutscene eat and entering Dungeon 6, and we're going to do the same thing here in Dungeon 7, but it's much easier. This one, if you bring Bow Wow with you, you can do casually, but you can't really bring Bow Wow with you casually. Literally just walk to that corner and Bow Wow will eat it 9 times out of 10. And now onto a dungeon that, again, casually, this is probably one of the longest dungeons. However, courtesy of super jumps and especially bomb triggers, we're going to break it again.
Yeah, this is a completely different dungeon than what you play casually. Yeah, there's 4 bomb triggers that we do. There's a few super jumps. I think 3 super jumps. So all of these pillars can be blown up with bomb triggering. And he's actually using the pit to make sure he can place 2 bombs on alternate frames.
So you gotta be careful when you're doing the pit method that you don't manage to drop all your bombs in the pit. It's very easy to do if you're not careful and suddenly you're out of bombs. Spicefather also getting his Rooster Skip first try. He struggled a bit early and decided to do a buffered for the first one, which is probably a good call. So first try from both of our runners.
Yeah, a credits warp would be considered a wrong warp.
So we're going to be seeing another trick called Goomba Surf here, and there's 2 ways of getting up to the boss door without the boss key. This is optimally the quickest, but it's also very RNG heavy. We want to clip ourselves 1 pixel exactly into the wall, and then we need a Goomba to move right at the top. And we wanted to do it quick. If done optimally, meaning the Goomba cooperates and you get the super jump, this will save you 15 seconds over the other version, which is another super jump involving clanking off a key hat. Teed's struggling a bit, and the Goomba does not want to cooperate at all.
TGH loves this jump. He really does.
And the Goomba,
the bane of his existence.
The Goomba cooperated 3 times now, but he didn't get the super jump.
So, this super jump is actually really tricky because it's a sort of super jump. So, he lost a lot of time there.
Very. So, because we like breaking the game, we're also going to break this boss. We're not going to the top. We're not going to fight him as normal. We're going to use bombs again. You can do this casually.
I wonder if anyone's ever done this casually.
I would say I would from now on, but I don't think I can do this casually.
I don't think I can play this game casually.
So we'll see if Spice decides to go for Goomba Surf and commit to it, or if maybe he'll give it a go, and if it's not working out, move on to the Super Jump. He's committing, and it pays off. So one thing you saw on TGH's screen, when exiting Dungeon 7, when you jump down that cliff, you're meant to fall into that hole and get flushed into the river at the bottom. If you buffer the save and quit menu on that transition, you then regain control of Link, and you can actually skip that hole, saving another chunk of time. And now coming up on the next skip of the game, Marin skip, we don't want to go near her. If we go near her, not just touch her, go near her, it'll actually start a long cutscene in which we talk to her, talk to Taryn, talk to the owl, and it wastes about 50 seconds. There's no need to do it, so we just jump the gap and don't have to deal with her.
It's like we get every single text box in existence. Like, we go around talking to the island. I think it's around a minute time loss if you touch Marin.
Yeah, it's a lot. And you notice the Moldorms and Bow Wow freaking out here. You're not meant to have them at this point, and the game does not handle it too well. And now we're moving on to the next skip, Flame Skip. Your turn to do an explanation.
So we're going to skip Final Flame. This is the Final Flame skip. So basically, if you will clip into the wall, the game thinks you're in that wall as well as sort of on the ground. So if you're in a wall, you can't be pushed back because you can't be pushed into that wall. So the fire won't actually push you. Also, this boss isn't real.
Yeah, and we had to do another bomb trigger to enter the dungeon. And now Dungeon 8. So Dungeon 8, we don't have too much to talk about. It's a long dungeon casually, but since we know where bombable walls are, we'll use bomb arrows to destroy them. So instead of talking about Dungeon 8, do you want to talk about menuing?
So, menuing is a massive part of the run, particularly with the higher end runners. So, most people who run this game will have a set menu. Now, unlike Link to the Past, in this game, your items do move around in your menu. So not always in the same place. So everyone sort of has their own system of remembering where their items are and what items they need when. Because menuing takes up a lot of time in this run. Every time you open the menu, it's 2 seconds lost. So you want to make sure you get the right items, and you want to minimize the time in the menu as possible. And all the runners do this.
So the room TGH just now left. You can actually do a trick in there called Blano Skip involving some super jumps. But under the current definition of out of bounds, you cannot. It's disallowed. And that's the reason the out of bounds definition is so complicated.
Fun fact, we used to do that, and then someone, a few months after we were doing it, said, "Hang on, isn't this out of bounds?" And then we were like, "Yeah, it is." And then we banned it.
There's a good chance there's a run on the leaderboards that has that.
Yeah, if you see a run on the leaderboard that's verified, don't worry, like, we didn't, like, stop any runs that did that, but nowadays I guess it wouldn't save that much time compared to what it did save.
TGH now doing the room that every LADX speedrunner hates. So we're controlling, Crunchy called that the Roomba earlier, I really liked that. We control that, we need to fill in all the dark spaces. If you hit a wall or mess up a little bit, you have to restart the room, and it's a pain. And you also saw him jump towards the right where the chest spawns. You don't really have that much control over where you go, but we try and do that as efficiently as possible, just to minimize walking. And hey, you want to tell us what TGH just did?
So, TGH just did a Jesus jump. Now, Jesus jumping is very similar to Villa skipping, whereas if you're jumping on water or lava without, if it's water, if it's without the flippers, but lava, obviously there is no flippers for lava. You have one frame where you can actually make an input before you fall down. Very much like pits. So, we actually use that to wall clip into the bottom wall.
Bang, boys! Teach showing off his Yeah. Most important trick in the run.
You can see why we like that trick. Much more than obstacle skip.
Oh, by the way, we also killed Cue Ball another time. The game decided to recycle a couple things. And now TGH is going to make his way over to the Windfish Egg, where we have more text, more bomb triggers, more bomb triggers on top of that, and a decent length cutscene of music.
Yeah, fun fact, you can play bombs as instruments, but you can't play mayonnaise as instruments.
What is it with people's obsession with playing mayonnaise?
I don't know, it's become a meme.
I don't even want to eat mayo, let alone play mayo.
So now, obviously, this bomb trigger won't actually open the egg unless you have all 8 instruments. It does work, but you need all 8 instruments. If you did this without 8, it'd be like playing the ocarina with Marin Song without having 8 instruments. So Spice not having that great a hothead fight.
Hothead is a strange boss. We still don't 100% know how his health works.
His health is RNG. We've decided it's RNG. Is bomb triggering an instrument in this game? Yes.
Yes, bomb triggering is an instrument. Oh, the side wang. Better than no wang. But I think the wang voice has sealed the deal for TGH. It's such a big, important part of the run.
So, I'm just going to point out now that, this has been an amazing run, in terms of things like RNG for TGH. He's not even going to come close to world record with this.
Not at all.
That's how insane the world record is at the moment. So
let's talk about the boss real quick. You saw him drop a lot of bombs when coming in. That was a bomb trigger. It skips the text and also stops the music. And that right there was the quick kill on phase 1, which is the block. And now we're on to Aghanim, and this is the same but different than the one from A Link to the Past. So
Aghanim is RNG the boss.
Yeah, we need to get 4 hits on him. The first 2 balls are guaranteed to be yellow. Afterwards, it's a 50-50 chance. And there's no limit on how many blue balls you can get. So you could be here for 5 minutes trying to get the yellow balls. There's blue number 1.
Spice looks like he's gonna get a PB here.
And don't jinx it, there is still plenty of RNG coming up.
Or he could still win, to be honest.
Yes. You can see that's 3 blue balls for TGH.
If TGH keeps going like this, he might not actually win this.
And it is RNG. However, if Aghanim does not move when he moves, to say, you can manipulate him by moving just a single pixel and get a yellow ball that way. That was a Moldorm quick kill. Screw you, Moldorm. This is Ganon.
Do you guys remember Lamola earlier? I don't either. Well, he was just there. You might have missed it.
And now to the final phase of the boss, Deathel. More RNG to close out the run. We need him to open his eye, which is RNG when it opens. At minimum 4 times. So we need to shoot 16 arrows into his eye. If you're quick about it, you can get 4 arrows on each cycle. And rip the sub 54. Spicefather missing the bomb trigger and getting the boss text, and therefore the boss music as well. And GG is TGH, who's going to come out victim.
I love how sometimes when people get hit by death on that fight, they accidentally do a super jump off the bottom wall.
I have done that for Hothead.
TGH did that in this.
Nice. So TGH finishing with an SRL time of 54:41. So that's almost 2 minutes slower than world record, and that was still a good run. So congratulations to him. We'll keep an eye on Spicefather, dealing with Aghanim at the moment. Here come the blue balls. Now you get the sweet boss music. Kind of a shame we don't get this boss music in the run if done properly. It is really good. Oh no, and he misses the Moldorm quick kill.
So, TGH's run there, if he did that against the likes of Bamboo or Vlak, he would have lost. So, this tournament is definitely not as predictable as people make it out to be.
Not at all. So still a chance to PB, but it's going to depend on Bethel RNG.
So, Spice's current PB is a 57.01.
Not anymore.
I've just seen his did he not done late in SRL?
I don't know, but finishing with an SRL time of 56.52. Congratulations to Spicefather on a PB. We'll see about getting these players in here for some interviews. So the person asking about Link to the Past randomizer, yes, it will be beginning at about 9:30, so in around a half hour.
Okay, yeah, I guess we've got time for interviews then.
Yeah. Okay, let's bring Spicefather in. Hello, congratulations on the PB.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Let's bring TGH in as well. Hey, Tej, congratulations.
Hey, thanks a lot. What's up?
That
Can you hear me?
that wasn't
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, cool. What's up?
That was an unusually close race.
I mean, I felt like my run was pretty solid. Sans for Goomba Surf. I need to learn how to do that again, I guess. But,
Yeah, you were on that for quite a while. You also
yeah,
had,
I had messed it up twice. I got decent RNG twice and messed it up, like myself. Just, I don't know what even happened. I just need to practice it, I guess. But
Subpixels, just blame subpixels.
yeah, exactly. Subpixels and subframes. I missed the subframe.
so Spice actually pulled out quite a big lead after you got on the powder as well. You didn't have the best of moblin skips, and
Nah, yeah, Moblin kind of trolled me a little bit.
that Dungeon 1 super jump.
It's the same thing, the same type of super jump. Like I just as Goomba Surf, I'm not really sure what happens there. But yeah,
So,
I guess I'm just pressing a diagonal by accident. And that's messing it up. But I mean, it's just something I got to practice. It's just a complication with the D-pad of the SP for me. But yeah, either way, it's just something I got to get down. That's all.
So Spice, are you a fan of Bow Wow at the moment?
Not his biggest fan. He's alright sometimes, like when he eats what I want him to, but D2 enter was atrocious.
You were so ahead going there, and then Yeah, TGH, your Bow Wow just ate him immediately, and that was the difference.
Yeah, and he killed Spice's piece of power in Dungeon 5 as well.
Oh, really?
No, my piece of power dropped on the Zols at the flippers.
We saw, and Tej, you actually lost your piece of power in Dungeon 6. I saw it drop on the screen transition.
Yeah. I mean, well, D6 piece of power. I'm normally not like it's not mandatory for me, but it's like it's still I don't know. It's nice to have. But if I don't get it early, I don't really care that much. Like if I'm not gonna wait on the transition to like see if he drops it at that point, like I wouldn't think it's worth it. But getting it early is definitely worth it for sure. But I just didn't think it was worth it to wait there.
Understandable.
It is kind of a moment where you're like, "Ooh, I missed that," but it's not that big of a deal. Being that late in D6, it makes you pick up horse heads faster, though. That would have helped, especially with how many times we had to throw them.
Both of you.
Level
It's
2
a
brace.
25% chance of getting it, and
Yeah, that's
TJ,
BS.
you had like
that's
25%.
You
No,
had 8,
that's-
Spice had something like 14.
Yeah.
And, after
Yeah,
your
that's
8th
crazy.
try, I'm like, okay, you know what? This means Spice is going to get first try, because I seem to bring good luck for that. But not this race.
No, I think Bamboo took all the luck earlier when he got first try in 2 runs in a row.
Unbelievable.
I genuinely don't believe it's 25%. It's got to be lower.
It's like
Right.
Goomba Surf RNG. It's like actually 1 in 5, but it feels like 1 in 8. Swear.
Exactly.
Like so, it's supposedly 25%, but like it's, yeah, I have no idea. It's it definitely doesn't feel like it.
So, TJ, you're into the semi-final. You're going to be facing off against either Dragon or whoever's Dragon. Stanner. Either Dragon or Stanner.
Gotcha.
It's I think it's going to get a bit more tight now in terms of race results.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's to be expected down the stretch. I'm looking forward to it though.
In fact, we actually have a very close-looking race tomorrow at 6 p.m. EDT, and that's going to be between Green Tunic and Black Hussar.
That's going to be a really good race for sure.
That is going to be a race to watch. The winner of which will be facing Bamboo in the semi-final.
Yeah, for those of you who are watching who might not be too keen on the community, like those are two like giants. Like that is a race to watch. You said it yourself. Like perfect words. That is a race to watch. GT and Black.
That will be the first race we have where both runners are sub 55.
Yes.
As you mentioned, that'll be at 6 p.m. Yes, 6 p.m. tomorrow. Channel to be determined. Do I still have the speed gaming schedule open?
Speed Gaming 9.
No, it's gotta be on the Ocho.
I think they got on Speed Gaming Pi by now.
Unreal,
That'll be
4
an interesting
channels.
one.
So, speaking of speed gaming, let's talk about everything going on. Immediately following this, or it might be in about 20 minutes, just depending, we have a link to the past randomizer. Over on Speed Gaming 3, they're just finishing up a link to the past randomizer. On Speed Gaming, the normal page, they're in the middle of a link to the past randomizer, and that'll be followed by, wait for it, more link to the past randomizer.
Randomizer's not even that popular, dude.
If you like a link to the past randomizer, be sure to watch Speed Gaming pretty much for the rest of the night. And speaking of, once again, a massive shout out to Feasel and Speed Gaming for doing all this hosting. Hosting at this very moment 3 streams at once. That's crazy. That is all I've got.
So yeah, if
Hot
you're in the
dogs are
minority that happens to like randomizer, then you
Yes,
got your you got it coming up.
A huge minority. It doesn't seem to get that much attention.
No.
So, any closing thoughts?
Other than GG Spice, good race, man. Thanks for the race.
Yeah, just congratulations. Good luck to TGH and all the other runners, and thanks for everyone for putting the tournament together.
Absolutely.
Oh, quickly before we go, TGH, are you going to be chatting in chat against the likes of Dragon, Bamboo, or Vlak?
You better, or I'll be insulted.
I mean,
where do you draw the line?
I mean, I always have stream up because I like being able to see where I stand. I like looking at chat too. Like, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't really distract me that much, to be honest with you. But it was funny, the banter in the chat between two runners. But
Well, now chat's
anyway.
descended into an argument about whether hot dogs are sandwiches, which they are. But
that's about
Are
normal
not.
for Twitch chat. But either way, yeah. I can't see myself changing mentality. Besides for maybe putting a little more practice in, especially on down to up swordless super jumps for whatever reason. They just are the bane of my running right now for this game, so I just gotta practice those.
All right. Cravone, you want to take us home?
I think you've sort of done all that, haven't you?
Take me home, Kravon.
Yeah. Join this channel in about 20 minutes for Link to the Past randomizer. And the next race is that race. The next LEDX race is that race tomorrow, which is at 6 o'clock EDT. So yeah, that's all I've got. Shouts to Fiesel for letting us do this tournament once again on Speed Gaming. I'm just gobsmacked that he's able to do this on 3 channels at once, let alone when he does 4 at once.
All right. Well, that's it for us. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Have a good one, guys.